My guest today is Shaun Whynacht, the guy behind Blue Cow Marketing. They've been turning marketing chaos into smooth, automated systems for over 12 years. Welcome, Shaun.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Before we get into what you do, could you tell us who is Shaun?
Well, who am I? That's a loaded question with that. So, number one, I'm a father of a 9-year-old boy. That's my biggest motivation for the lifestyle that I'm building and what I'm doing. But second to that, I am someone who loves systems, loves learning how things work. My background is actually in media, television and radio production. And over the years, I've had a video production company and then moved into web design as well. Ultimately, my passion in everything that I do is understanding how things work and then trying to make them better.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I think right now your main focus is on automation. You mentioned
Yes.
systems, right?
Yep.
Okay. So why is that important?
It's very important because the work that I've been doing I've been an entrepreneur for almost 25 years now, and the last 13 of which has been in marketing automation and building systems for clients. And the number one thing that comes up with clients is I don't have enough time, or I'm wasting time doing things over and over again. And ultimately, the only way to really give them back time is to put a system in place to do those tasks for them or make them more efficient at it. And with automation, and now with AI being involved in automation, we can give them back that time so they can do the things that they want. They can do the things that I wanted in life, which was being able to take my son to school in the morning, to be able to just have that freedom to be at events that he has. On Friday, he's got no school, so I'm taking the day off and we're going to hang out together because I have those systems in place to allow me to do that.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And yeah, it's one of those things as entrepreneurs, especially when we're small entrepreneurs without a large team, that plagues us, right? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what can we do? Because many times we're in the middle of, whether creating our podcast shows or we're selling our widgets or, we're trying to market. We're trying to do all these things, and we find it difficult to stop to put stuff in place that would save us all that time you're talking about, time to do more and
hmm
time to spend with our family. What's the first thing we could do to actually set that ball in motion?
Well, the first thing that you need to do is figure out what is it that is preventing you from being able to do that. Let's say you want to spend more time with your family. Well, what is it that is happening in your business that's taking all that time? An initial exercise we do with all clients is self-auditing what tasks they have to do and trying to put them into three different buckets. One of them being, what is the task that is generating no revenue for us, but just has to be done? So, our bookkeeping, or, all the admin stuff and that type of stuff. Second one is what has the potential to generate revenue. So those are the fun things. Those are like the creating podcasts, creating blogs, making content for courses and stuff that we find fun because, we're being creative. And then the third one is what is directly connected to revenue. That is building out, your product or your service for a client who's paying you for that, or meeting with your clients on an ongoing basis. Depends on what your business is. If you're a
Right.
service-based business, a little different as well. So you figure out what those are, and then you figure out, can we automate or delegate those non-revenue generating ones to free up the time, right? Can I get a bookkeeper in there that you know I can hire at less hourly rate than what I value my own time at, to free that up? So we do that. The middle one, which is potential, is what can we put in place to streamline it, to make it more efficient? The best example of this is I have a financial advisor I've worked with for almost a decade, and she was creating content every week for her social channels, her podcasts, and everything. And it took her on average of 6 to 7 hours every single week to create all those pieces of content write the blog
Mm-hmm.
post, write the social post. So we built an AI automation system workflow more so to get that down to 1 hour. So now she records her podcast, it's transcribed with the software, and then the AI workflows will build all the social clips, it'll build all the LinkedIn posts, the articles, everything that needs to be done in 1 hour. So we given her 5 to 6 hours of her time back by doing that. So, making you more efficient, and some things can be completely automated. The one thing you don't want to replace yourself with automation is those revenue generating ones. Those are the ones where you're the most value. You're meeting with your clients, you're being hired to, whether you're a coach to coach your clients, or you're going out and doing services. If you want to scale, you bring on a team, but you have those systems in place. So
Yeah.
that's the first thing that's in there, is figuring out what it is that's stealing that time away from you, and can you get it back.
Yeah, makes sense. Excuse me. Makes sense. And you mentioned having that one bucket where it's tag your it for
Mm-hmm.
doing those things. Remind me of a quote by Jack Canfield that says, "You can't you can't hire someone to do your push-ups for you." In that case, in that respect, you have to be the person who focus on, on that task or those activities that
Mm-hmm.
generate the income. All right, thank you. All right, so how do we explain to me, like you just mentioned a case where you built these AI sorry, these AI
Workflows.
tools, workflows to help one of your clients, Streamline. Tell us how a podcaster, and I assume they could use the same system, right? But tell us how a podcaster can really pull themselves out from the day-to-day activities and focus on their mission of,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from using the example of podcasts is a great example, because there's so many things that if you didn't have a system in place, it would take a lot of time from, your outreach to, getting the information about the guest, and following up and getting your questions and everything. So, the tools that we use, because I'm also a podcast host as well, we use our CRM. So we have Go High Level as our CRM, and I use ChatGPT. I mean, I love that system and what it can do. So somebody reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I'd like to be a guest," or I reach out to them to be a guest. I have a link on our website. So, it's our website /podcast, and they can book in there. So there's a web form that asks a bunch of questions, and that information then submits through, and then they use an online booking calendar to pick the time, very similar to what I've done when I booked into this show. But then when that happens, that system will then automatically set up the online link for, where we're recording, send it out to the client. It will then pass that information to ChatGPT, and then figure out what all the questions I should ask based off the information they gave me. So that's all the pre stuff. And then there's some follow-ups that go to them, reminding them. So again, completely hands off, aside from me just giving them the link, right? If they follow through, perfect. So that
Right.
automation's in place. And then we record the episode, and then it's immediately transcribed. And then I use Descript to edit my episodes. I put in both video feeds. It will give me the full YouTube video, give me all the social clips. And then I take the transcription, and I built a custom GPT, which is the platform. When you pay for GPT, you get that. And I've gone in and I said, okay, this is how I want this to work. You will ask me for the transcript. I will paste it in there. Once you do that, you will then write a 650 to 750 word article for LinkedIn in the first person, avoiding these type of words, this type of stuff in my writing style. I train it all to do that. Once I approve that and say approved, you will then write the social post. You'll write quotes for graphics, all that stuff. So my workflow gets shortened down very quickly. So people are usually surprised when I get off of a recording and they say, "Well, when's it coming out?" And I'm like, "Today." right? And probably within an hour it's published. Like the YouTube link is done with the video, the audio's done, the articles, all the social posts, and within an hour they get all those assets back because I have streamlined those workflows that are there.
Sorry. That's pretty neat.
Mhm.
I'm in an RV and I'm still getting used to it. So these noise keep coming on. All right. So that is a pretty neat way of doing podcasting. I can't imagine being able to publish the same day unless I was doing it live or something. So tell us how we can get in touch with you. Tell us about your podcast. Talk about your business and what you can do for entrepreneurs
Absolutely.
in
So
general.
yeah, so my business is called Blue Cow Marketing. I've been doing that for, like I said, over 13 years now. It has evolved over the years. We're focused on automation, but we also offer other services like, Facebook ads, SEO, web design, and that type of stuff. But the automation really comes down to, how are we going to help people grow their business in there? So if we uncover along the way that you should be running some Google ads or Facebook ads, yes, we can service that, but we don't tag ourselves as a Google Ads agency. So bluecowmarketing.ca, I am in Canada. That's where I'm located. If you Google Blue Cow Marketing, I will come up in all the other channels that are out there. Now, my podcast is called the Content Amplification Podcast. I just did episode 150 this week with Jessica Rhodes from Interview Connections. They're a podcast booking agency. So great episode there. And again, if you are someone who helps people with content, if you have figured out a way to create really great content or streamline things, I'd love to have you on the show. If you want to see my workflow, how I built that out, just go to bluecowmarketing.ca/podcast. That's the link I give out to everyone who wants to book in, and you'll see all the questions I ask that are there, and because you have to submit all that before you get the booking link as well.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for explaining that. And where in Canada are you? I always like to ask because I'm Canadian.
Yeah, I'm in Nova Scotia.
Okay, never been. All right. Okay, thanks, Shaun. What is Shaun grateful for today?
I am grateful for the opportunity to connect with people beyond the borders. I've met so many amazing people that, if it wasn't for tools like this being a virtual podcast to Zoom and everything, I don't think I would have the ability to make those connections the way that we can and help more people. I say, I'm not a local business. I'm just a business that's local because most of the work that I do is not here. It transcends, provincial borders, country borders, everything. So that is what I'm grateful for.
Yes, thank you. That's one of my favorite things about podcasting is that you can connect with people you wouldn't normally connect with, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And,
Yeah.
and the biggest thing you find out is that everybody has the same struggles. Everybody, we're all people. You can live in Florida, you can live in London, you can live in India. It doesn't matter. I've had everybody on podcasts. I've been on podcasts, and just that human ability to connect and relate is consistent.
Yeah, pretty awesome. Les Brown says our stories are similar, it's just the details that are different, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I noticed something on your profile about the customer journey.
Yes.
And it's something Russell Brunson talks about a lot. Russell Brunson is a ClickFunnels CEO. Tell
Mhm.
us how it relates to what we're talking about, entrepreneurship, podcasting, and how does that works in getting customers and keeping them.
Absolutely. And this is a very loaded question because anytime that I work with a client or a business and they say, I need automation. Well, we got to back that question up and say, okay, what is that journey that your customers are going on? Because automation is just a tool to enhance that. So, if somebody's requesting information, at 3 o'clock in the morning, do you have a way to send that to them automatically instead of waiting until you get up and get to it to send them? So, because that'll enhance that journey that's there. In podcasting, it's an element to that. So, I create my podcast not by any means to generate sales, right? I don't create it. I never went into it to say this is a sales method for me. I went in it to help. I also create topics where along the way, I have a email nurture that people can opt into, and I have episodes from the past that are in there. Or I meet with a client that's struggling with, booking people on a podcast. I'm like, okay, I've got an episode with this person who does that, and they gave some great tips. Here's the link to it. So my podcast is just an asset in the journey, a tool to deliver that. Every product and service has a micro journey in it as well. So, you could offer, maybe 5 different services in your business that people could usually use all of them, but maybe they're different parts of the season that they come through and they use them. Those are little micro journeys in that bigger journey that's there. So the best way to look at that is if you are going to take a road trip across the country that you're in, you're probably not going to just hit the highway and drive from one coast to the other coast and never take detours, right?
Right.
Those detours into those little towns that have those little stories and those little shops and things that really create those experiences. Those are those micro journeys that are in there. And everyone looks different, but ultimately in the end, we need to get to our destination.
Yeah, awesome. And it's funny that I'm glad I asked that question because
Mhm.
when we're thinking of automation as entrepreneurs, we may think it's to benefit us. And I wonder if we often think that how does this benefit the customer, or we should be focusing more on that customer journey. So I'm really
Mhm.
glad you explained that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. All right. So I appreciate you coming and talking to us on Tools of the Podcast Trade. And before I let you go, could you give us a couple of tips, an entrepreneur or listeners, a couple of tips straight from your heart?
Absolutely. We talked about auditing the things that you do in your business and figuring that out. And a lot of people, they're like, I'm going to do that between meetings. I'm going to spend some time today to do that or whatever. The reality is you need to make time to stop and step out of your business, right? So whether that's just for some, it could just be going to a coffee shop. For some, it's like, hey, I'm just going to go away for the weekend with the sole intent that I'm going to look at my business from a different light. I'm not in it. That we find is the only way you can truly dedicate the time to think about the process. You can't do it when you're like, oh, I have a meeting at the top of the hour that I got to think about and do it. So that's the biggest thing. And that's the only way that I've seen over 20 some years of being an entrepreneur is the time when I go away to conferences, right? The time on the plane, the time in the car, the time in the hotel, I start to think about my business in a different way, right? But when you come back, if there's stuff to implement, you also have to plan for that.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, your listeners are listening and, you've gone to a conference and, you've got all these great ideas and you're like, we're going to do this in the business. And you come back and suddenly it just doesn't happen
Yes.
because you haven't planned for that. So that's the biggest tip that's there. And another second one is you will do things that you will just fail at, and that is okay.
Right.
Right? We're never going to be perfect at everything, and we need to be okay with that. Same with automation. I mean, you build automation with the greatest intent, and some things break. It's technology, right? You get over it. You figure out why. You fix it. You enhance it, and you go from there.
Yeah. Like they say on Wall Street, is sausage making is messy, right? Thanks, Shaun. I appreciate you.
Thank you. I appreciate you as well.
Yeah.